Who is Jose Rizal? Jose Protasio Rizal Mercado y Alonso Rialonda is the national hero of the Philippines and pride of the Malayan race. Was born on June 19, 1861 in the town of Calamba, Laguna. He was the seventh child in a family of 11 children, 2 boys and 9 girls. Both his parents were educated and belonged to distinguished families.
His father, Francisco Mercado Rizal, an industrious farmer, whom Rizal called a model of fathers, came from Binyan, Laguna, while his mother, Teodora Alonso y Quintos, a highly cultured and accomplished woman whom Rizal called loving and prudent mother, was born in Misik, Santa Cruz, Manila. At the age 8, he wrote a Tagalog poem sa aking mga kabata, the theme of which revolves on the love of one's language. In 1877, at the age of 16, he obtained his Bachelor of Arts degree with an average of excellent from the Ateneo Municipal de Manila.
Rizal, a wealthy landowner's son, received his education in Manila and the University of Madrid. He was an outstanding medical student who quickly dedicated himself to changing Spanish colonial government in the Philippines while never advocating independence. He also spent the majority of his writing time in Europe between 1882 and 1892, where he also resided. Noli Tangere, Rizal's debut book, which vehemently criticized Spanish colonial rule in the Philippines, was released in 1887. El Filibusterismo, a sequel to that exports the reign of greed, solidified his position as the main voice of the Philippine reform movement. In order to demonstrate that the indigenous people of the Philippines had a long history prior to the arrival of the Spaniards, he released an annotated version of Antonio Morga's Sucesos de las Islas Filipinas.
We all know that the Cavite Mutiny is one of the most tragic histories that happened in our country. This history is one of the eye-opener events that somehow awakened the nationalism and patriotism within our people. Because the Cavite Mutiny happened, Jose Rizal was so disappointed and in sorrow after witnessing what just happened. He was inspired to write his novel No Limitangere. That was one of his iconic writings which it portrays characters that tells who the villains and the heroes were. No Limitangere, or The Social Cancer in English translations, was also written by Rizal inspired through what happened in the Cavite Mutiny, where the villains of the novel are also the real villains for what happened in real life, and its sole purpose is to be an eye-opener to the real situation of the Indios.
The movement's leader and wrote numerous pieces for its Barcelona-based publication, La Solidaridad. The inclusion of the Philippines as a province of Spain, representation in the Cortes, the substitution of Filipino priests for Spanish friars, freedom of assembly and expression, and legal equality between Filipinos and Spaniards were all part of Rizal's policy program.
La Solidaridad was a newspaper publishing company founded by Lopez Ayina in Barcelona, Spain. La Solidaridad urged reforms in both religion and government in the Philippines, and it served as a voice of what became known as the propaganda movement. One of the foremost contributors to La Solidaridad was the precocious Jose Rizal, whom has contributed numerous articles to its newspaper, La Solidaridad. Rizal's political program included integration of the Philippines as a province of Spain, representation in the Cortes, the Spanish Parliament, the replacement of Spanish friars by Filipino priests, freedom of assembly and expression, and equality of Filipinos and Spaniards before.
Rizal became well known as a national hero because he represents virtue. He liberated us by employing goodness. Jose Rizal's supremely silent yet effective fight for freedom helped him win the title of Philippine National Hero. Instead of using force or aggression, he chose to convey his love for the Philippines through his books, essays, and articles. He was a very remarkable man in his day. He was modest, preferring to advocate for reforms through his words as opposed to leading a revolution. He employed his knowledge, abilities, and skills in a way that was far more peaceful than hostile.
In 1892, Rizal went back to the Philippines. He established La Liga Filipina, a non-violent reform group in Manila, before being exiled to Lapitan in northwest Mindanao. The following 4 years saw him continue in exile. A secret organization of Filipino nationalists called the Katipunan revolted against Spain in 1886. Rizal was detained and put on trial for sedition by the military, despite the fact that he had no ties to that group and had not participated in the uprising. He was then publicly executed by a firing squad in Manila after being found guilty. His martyrdom persuaded the Filipinos that breaking away from Spain was their only option. While imprisoned in Fort Santiago, on the eve of his execution, Rizal composed Itimo Adios, a classic of 19th century Spanish verse, often known as Last Farewell.
So, why is Jose Rizal considered the national hero?
Well, based on his story, we have tackled all his effort was because of his commitment to his political writing that inspired the Philippine Revolution and ultimately led to his execution by Spanish colonizer. He was a hero for risking his life for many events that were mentioned.